Yeah, that's Sami Zayn is definitely a very interesting name to throw around for the Rumble. I definitely could see that. Sammy, it makes sense storyline wise. Some fans have said Jey Uso, but honestly, I don't see that being even. I mean, I know they faced off at Hell in a Cell and all that, but I just don't see that making really logical sense. Jey Uso is WWE champion. I mean, I don't know if I could see that, but if they want to go off story, then Sammy would be the perfect winner, and maybe have him face Reigns night two after he faces The Rock. I mean, that's the only way I see anybody else winning the Rumble besides The Rock, is if they just do two matches of Mania, do that match main event night one, and the other match main event night two, because I don't know how else they're gonna do it. But for me personally, I would definitely throw Sami Zayn in the hat for me, but also Cody Rhodes. I feel like he really could be that baby face to dethrone Roman Reigns. He's been said since he came back, my goal is to pretty much have a tribute to Dusty, win the WWE title in dedication to him. And Cody's just kind of reminds me of Cena, that baby face the fans want to root for in certain moments. Not all the time with Cena, but nowadays they always root for him and get excited. Cody's kind of reminds me of that. He's always that guy you can always root for. So I could definitely see Cody returning. They said he's doing good on his rehab and his progress from his injury. So Cody could definitely be for me the guy to dethrone Roman Reigns. So QJ, what about you? Who do you see winning the Rumble and possibly beating Reigns at WrestleMania?
Yeah, I feel Cody making a return and winning the Rumble. I feel that he needs that moment. He never really won a WWE championship, and I feel like he came back WWE for a reason to accomplish some goal. You know what I mean? And I feel he needs that moment. They always cheer for this guy. Reminds me of Cena, like a face. And I feel that he's the right man to beat Reigns, and I feel the fans will be very excited for that. And they could easily make a story out of that match, and I kind of hope that plays out.
Yeah, that would be good. It'd be definitely an interesting match to have. And the fans will get behind Cody a ton if he comes back and faces Reigns. I just feel like that'd be the perfect match to happen. But it all just depends on if The Rock's actually going to do the match. We all know The Rock's, he has a lot of projects going. I mean, I think he's doing the XFL now since Vince don't own that no more. He's dealing with that. He's dealing with movies. It's going to be very tough to get The Rock to appear. So there could always be a plan B or something else
Well,
they
we
do.
we all know The Rock never says no to a movie deal. That's for sure.
Exactly. So
That's right.
it's a tough one. I mean, Triple H has a lot to think about in this next month. They said they want to know what The Rock wants to do by mid-January, so they got till then to really figure out if they're going to go through with The Rock and Reigns. But I mean, besides Sammy and Cody, I mean, I don't really know anybody else who really would make sense to even face Reigns at WrestleMania. Some fans have said Bray, but
No.
And a lot of Saints have Rollins.
yeah, that would be. That I could see Rollins and Reigns being more of a WrestleMania main event than Bray and Reigns. I feel like Bray and Reigns would be the most boring WrestleMania main event of all time. No offense to either one of them, but that would just not be
And
very exciting.
let's not forget that Rollins is the only person that Reigns doesn't have the cleanest of wins against, if that even.
That is
Yes, that's a
true.
yep. He's
Yeah.
never beaten Rollins. I mean, that's the one guy who could actually say that, surprisingly. So they could go in really any of them directions. I mean, it just depends what Triple H wants to do. I mean, Triple H is more open-minded than Vince. He might swerve all of us and have somebody we might not even think. Maybe a Braun Breaker could come in and win the Rumble. That's
Mhm. Never know.
somebody whose name, yeah,
I have opinions
So, Tiers, what is
on
your
that.
opinions about Braun Breaker? His name's been thrown around. I've seen it. They said
Okay.
Yeah.
Braun Breaker against Reigns.
Hmm.
I'll say this. I have invested in Braun Breaker. I'm you both know this. I'm a Scott Steiner fan. Not a lot of people are willing to admit that, but I am. However, I can't take him serious after losing the NXT Championship to Dolph Ziggler. I can't take that serious. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can understand that, but this is Triple H. I mean, that was Vince's booking at the end of the day. Him and Bruce and whoever the hell was running NXT, that was all their ideas. Triple H, we've seen with him, he's trying to help a lot of guys out. He sent Dijakovic back down to NXT, kind of trying to revamp him. He's revamping Dakota Kai and all them, kind of making them more impactful. He brought back Tegan Knox. He's put Killer Cross back to where him and Scarlett need to be. So he's
For
trying.
Ricochet,
Yeah,
Santos's
Ricochet.
main event.
hmm I mean, he's trying with a lot of people Vince to not do well with, and I feel like Braun
Mhm.
Breaker, Triple H would book him very well on the main roster. I mean, I've heard that him and his girlfriend Cora Jade are being fast tracked to be on the main roster. They just Triple H is waiting for the right time to debut them on the main roster. So it's definitely on the way. But hopefully they kind of make up for a lot of Vince and Bruce's booking with Braun Breaker. Do you agree with that?
I can agree with that, but I just feel like for Roman Reigns right now, like there's no time to make that believable. There's not enough time between now and then to make it to where like I can believe Braun Breaker of all people can beat Roman Reigns.
Yeah, it would be something kind of, especially for main roster fans who don't watch NXT. They'd be like, "Oh, who the hell is this guy? How is he beating Reigns? We don't even know who the hell this is because I don't know watch NXT." So I could definitely
Right.
see your point on that.
Like you got to pick somebody who is not only believable, like either story wise or competitive wise, because we said Sami Zayn. People will say like Sami Zayn's not believable at all. Keep in mind, Sami Zayn has the most amount of heart in his matches like anybody else, like Johnny Gargano levels of heart. If you
Oh,
watch like
absolutely.
Most
NXT when he
definitely,
was
most
there,
definitely.
Yeah.
but he's had enough time to where like people can see it. Whereas if we were to debut Braun Breaker right now, potentially, that's not enough time for him to win, said the Royal Rumble and to beat Reigns at Mania. That's just there's not enough time for that.
Yeah, I feel like
Makes sense.
I feel like if they're gonna debut Braun Breaker, it would be better to debut him on the Raw after WrestleMania. I definitely
Yeah,
think
that
that'd
would
be a
probably
good
be the
time.
best.
Yeah, and maybe I mean I don't know if he'll be a babyface or heel. He seems like he's been pretty good as a babyface in NXT. So maybe he faces somebody like a veteran. I can't really think of anybody like maybe a Ziggler again or something. I'm not saying it's gonna be Ziggler, but somebody like that who kind of work with them a little bit on the main roster at first. Because I do agree putting him against Reigns right off the bat when he hasn't been on the main roster. Because NXT and main roster are two completely different types of styles of wrestling and everything. So it'd be kind of tough to be like, okay, we're throwing you right in the fire, Braun. Here, you're facing the most dominant champ of all time. Good luck.
And not
Good
to
luck.
turn this into the Braun Breaker episode right now, but I do have to say, like, in my opinion, he is like what Mojo Rawley was supposed to be. He has that vibe of like the hypeness and the strength, but something about Rawley just never clicked with the fans. I feel like Braun Breaker can. So I'm not saying like he is a complete like forget about this guy. He ain't going to amount to nothing. I'm just saying he needs time with the crowd before he's believable to be in this area.
Oh, definitely. And
Hmm.
I heard he's the future. They're really hoping he could be the future. I mean, he's only 25. He's a really young guy. I mean, there's no need to rush him at all.
I feel bad because I'm 25 too.
That's funny. But some fans know he's related to Steiner, so he's got that, relatable going. They know a little bit about him. But
I wonder
hopefully,
why didn't they go with that name.
yeah, that was definitely a Vince move right there. But yeah, Braun Breaker is definitely an interesting option. So speaking of Reigns losing, what should he do after he loses? Should he go off to Hollywood? Should he pull a Brock and just appear occasionally and put guys over? Brian Alvarez has said he'd like to see Reigns maybe be in more long-term feuds where he can take a loss in the feud instead of just winning and that's it. So, QJ, I'll start with you. What do you think Reigns should do after he loses the title?
What I think Reigns should do after he lose the title, I feel he should be putting people over and just letting them have their moments. And I know eventually, rumor they said that he might go to Hollywood, which every wrestler is doing nowadays. First, I don't like that idea because I feel they're just doing it because someone else is doing it, and they're just like, yeah, let me just do the same. I mean, I feel if it's in your heart, then go ahead and do it. But that's what I feel he should be doing, and just let other people have their moments, and be like, oh man, okay, this guy's beating Reigns. This is a good long feud right here. This guy deserves to be. I think he could be the next one, and that's what I feel about it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think he should not completely lose every match, but definitely take more losses to opponents. Definitely would make it more interesting in feuds he's in. I know some fans that think he should just not lose. He should beat everybody, but after a while, it's just like this guy needs to take a loss. I mean,
Hmm.
but I mean, it just depends who he's feuding with. I don't know. I know Reigns really wants to be a Hollywood star like The Rock. I've heard a lot of rumors about that. He's pretty much using WWE to get him more roles in Hollywood. Basically, I've heard that report. Don't know if that's true, but Reigns has been in a few acting roles. He was in that show with The Rock, so he's had some experience. But I definitely could see Reigns taking a long break after he loses this. He did want a part-time deal because he wanted to spend more time with his daughters and spend more time at home, and he's been hurt a lot with minor injuries. So I could definitely see him taking a few months off, come back, being a big feud with somebody, and go from there. So, Tears, what do you think in your mind's next for Roman Reigns after he loses?
This is a challenging one due to the fact that it's just like, what could he do? Like, you booked him so strong to the point to where, like, after he gets his first loss after so long, I feel like he's gonna be missing for like a month or even two, because like as soon as he loses, what can you do? The next guy you wrestle, if you lose, that's just gonna be bad for you even more. And if you win, okay, you won a match, even though you just spent like how many years at dominant and all that. So I say after he loses the title, I think that should be the end of the bloodline. I could be once again wrong, and they can go with a whole different angle for this group. Or more than likely, he's going to lose, throw a tantrum, not wrestle a single match until his rematch, and win the title back. That's always a possibility. Never think it's not. But I feel like the moment he does lose, we're just not going to see him for a good bit until his eventual rematch.
Definitely agree with that. I think it would be best for the fans. There's some fans out there who don't want him to leave because, like you, they said they only watch for him. But he could use, or we could use as fans, kind of a break from Reigns. Like Alvarez was saying, it's time
Hmm.
for something new. It's time for, it's. I'm not saying Reigns can ever be winning or anything, but he's been on top for so long. I know Cena was on top for a decade and all that, but it's time for someone else to get the flag and wave it and say, I'm this top guy. Reigns, he's not an old guy. He's only 37, but he's definitely doing less than he used to. And WWE, which Triple H will most likely do, he's already trying with some new people, but just kind of, have Reigns get that next guy like a Braun Breaker or somebody like that to get a win over him and kind of push them above everybody else a little bit and kind of help somebody else. So I hope Reigns does that after he loses, hopefully. But Reigns has a lot to say in what he does, so we'll see what he really wants to do. And speaking of Reigns' title reign and Reigns, is he the greatest of all time? That's a legitimate question. Is he the greatest professional wrestler of all time? Is he better than Ric Flair? Is he better than Cena? Is he better than Ricky
Can I go?
Steamboat?
Can I go first?
Yeah, go right ahead. Tears, the floor is
Yeah,
yours.
the answer is no.
And
An
why do you
extreme
say
no.
that, Tears?
And why, Tiz? Why do
Look
you say that?
at the wrestlers that you just named and how iconic they are.
I'm
Let's
just
be
going off
honest.
what the community's saying. Now they said he's the
I
greatest of
don't
The
all
agree with the
greatest
community.
time.
of
I
all
no
time.
no 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 no.
I don't know if they're
Can
going
you?
off reign or in-ring ability or promo or all the above
I
or
feel they're
what, but
going over everything,
Okay,
honestly.
yeah,
if that's the case, show me a promo, show me a
Hmm.
match that puts him in that category, show me something that puts him on a scale to where, like, if you when you think of Ric Flair, you think of his like personal feud with Dusty Rhodes. When you think of Ricky Steamboat, you think of the heart and drive that he put in his matches. When you think of Macho Man Randy Savage, you think of the heartfelt moment when he won the WWE champion. What if Roman Reigns even makes me feel like he should be considered that level? Because even we all don't like Hulk Hogan, we can all respect the amount of heart he put in the wrestling community and how iconic he was. Roman Reigns, in my opinion, is not even on scale with being iconic because he is no Stone Cold, and I know somebody's gonna hate me for saying this. He ain't no Rock either, and I don't even like The Rock that much either. I don't like Stone Cold either that much either, but I could definitely say they're iconic. Roman Reigns has not even done anything to be considered the GOAT besides, well, I mentioned like a while ago, he feels very manufactured as well. I know people can say like, well, Stone Cold was, Ricky Steamboat was, Ric Flair was. Yeah, but you can feel the emotion. With Reigns, I don't feel anything. I just feel like he's just there.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, he don't really feel like somebody I'll look back on 20 years and go, man, that guy was so great. Some might, but I mean, you gotta take into other considerations besides just his title reign. Is he putting on great matches? I know it's WWE. You're not gonna see matches like Josh Alexander has an Impact or Omega has an AEW or Bryan Danielson has. I get that. Reigns just isn't that guy. He's not a 5-star match guy. I get it. I've heard fans say, well, his matches are more about the story and not about the ring work. I get it. WWE is more about story than in ring work. I get that. But to call someone the greatest of all time, I mean, it just depends what you're looking at. For me, it's like with the LeBron and Michael Jordan comparison: are you looking at scoring? Are you looking at rebounding? Are you looking at 3-point shooting? It's the same thing in wrestling. Are you looking at promos? Are you looking at in ring work? Are you looking at character work? And
And
if you're
plus
gonna call
about
somebody, oh, go ahead.
like I say, like, and plus, like, when we mentioned about the stories is all about the story comment, I had to also say, like, Ric Flair. I get a lot of people saying Ric Flair's wrestling at the time was not that good, even for wrestlers at that time. And if you want to say about the story, I have to say it again. Look at the story between the Four Horsemen versus Magnum PA or Magnum TA. I can't remember which iteration it was, but that was the first ever backstage attack that happened in wrestling. And then you have the Cody or the Dusty Rhodes and the Ric Flair feud. That was mostly about story too. You felt something for the hero, Dusty Rhodes. You felt emotions for that. With Roman Reigns stories, I don't feel the emotion. I don't feel connected to either Reigns or even his opponent. It just feels like words that are being said to try to rile you up, but they don't even do that.
Yeah, that happens a lot, especially when the babyface would come out and say, "I'm gonna dethrone the tribal chief. I'm gonna beat you." And that's the problem. I'm not saying I hate the internet, but we all know none of them are gonna beat Reigns until he
None of
faces The
them.
Rock.
Nah.
So it's like, why should we even care? I mean, I'm not saying I hate every single match Reigns has, but I already know the outcome of every single match. It's gonna be him winning or having help from the bloodline or whatever. I don't consider that the GOAT. Yeah, someone could have a long title reign. Does that mean they're the greatest of all time? To me, no. That's just who Vince wanted to be the greatest of all time. He's not better than Omega, in my opinion. And in ring, he's not. Promo, I'll give him the edge. But I mean, it's just too predictable for me. I can't call him the greatest of all time when he don't do a lot in his matches, and he really just does the same thing. It's just repetitive to me. But Q2, what is your thoughts on Reigns being called the greatest of all time?
My thoughts on Reigns was called the greatest. I mean, personally, let's say we all was in control of WWE. Like, you wouldn't book no guy like that. You have a guy holding both championships. Don't barely appear on Raw. Don't. I mean, SmackDown, he just appeared, just talks. I know he's on the contract, you part time, whatever, but don't have him hold both titles. Like, and people got to realize, Cena, favorite wrestler of all time. Like, but that man was putting in day work in and out, open challenges, just everything. I mean, he kind of bring his A game to the table. Like, you gotta I don't know, like we could look back on all his matches. Like Reigns, I can't even go back and look at some of his matches, but maybe some, but like I can't say wow. I could look at that again. Wow. Like don't get me wrong, I'm not saying story don't matter. Lead up to the match, it does. It definitely does. But I feel I'm more like I'm into the story, but I'm definitely more into the wrestling because I need to be out of breath, especially as a main event or something like that. I need to be out of breath during the match. Like we had so much great matches back then. Like you telling me Reigns killed Finn Balor, Demon Finn Balor. Like we saw the way he lost. Like just look at the people he's beaten,
Well,
like and the
sorry to
way he's
interrupt
beaten
you
up.
real quick, but I do have the list of everybody he's beat in this round. I'm gonna go
Oh
through it real
boy.
quick while you're talking about that. He has beaten Jey
Hmm.
Uso, Braun Strowman, Kevin Owens, Bryan Danielson, Edge, Cesaro, Ray, Cena, Finn, Brock, Goldberg, Matt Riddle, Drew McIntyre, Logan Paul, Seth Rollins. Technically, he beat Seth Rollins by DQ if you count it. I don't know. I guess I'll count it, but Sami Zayn, Bray Wyatt. That is everybody he's beaten in this title reign. But continue. Go ahead.
Yeah, and it's ridiculous. I mean, like I don't know. It should. The person I want to book a champion like that. He don't take losses. I mean, you can have a non-title match, let him compete on SmackDown, whatever. Like, oh, okay, this guy beat Reigns. Maybe he should get a shot at facing him for the title, whatever. At least I can say about seeing he took losses. Yeah, he did. I'm not gonna say he didn't bury people. He did, definitely did. But I don't know. I mean, you can't go back and see. Oh, has Reigns ever did like a 50-minute classic match or something like that? Like, bro, like he should be having a memorable matches. Like, it's sad that you want to be changed. Vince put him to be the greatest of all time, and he still has not proven it still to this day. And you got these fans thinking he's the best, and it's just they just got to kind of look at what wrestling should be about.
And
But honestly, he's not. He's not the greatest
to
of all time. Just
to
not.
go with that memorable matches thing, like, so you both know, like, I am not a John Cena fan. For the people that are watching this, know I am not a John Cena fan.
Oh yeah, definitely.
However, with
Mm-hmm.
his matches, I can at least point out, like, look at this specific Randy Orton versus John Cena match. Look at this specific Batista John Cena match. Look at this JBL and John Cena match. Triple H
AJ
John Cena. I
Styles,
can
Kevin Owens.
AJ
Mm-hmm.
Styles and John Cena. I can name matches that John Cena to where, like, I'm not a fan of his, but these are memorable matches. Out of all those wins that you mentioned for moments, I can't think of any of them that feels like this is a match that proved it to me. Like, even the Logan Paul and Roman Reigns match, from what I hear, that's more of a look at this match for Logan Paul than
Oh,
Roman
Exactly.
Reigns.
100%.
And
100%.
in my
Exactly.
opinion, if you're going to use that as an example for Roman Reigns, that's not a good one, because, like, when you remember his opponent more than him, that's not really a helpful dose for his argument.
No, it is not.
uh,
And to me, it just feels like Reigns needs a good worker to carry him. And a lot of them guys were good workers. I mean, Edge is a good worker. Balor's a good worker. KO's a
yeah.
good worker. Guys like that. Riddle, him and Riddle was pretty good. I'm not gonna say it wasn't a great
Mm-hmm.
match, but was it more Riddle or was it more Reigns? That's
Like, got these opponents fighting their hearts out. You telling me you can't fight your heart out? Like, it don't make sense to me.
And
You
nope.
for
should be
an
able to step up to the plate. Step
for an
up to the plate.
example, the Roman Reigns and Triple H WrestleMania match, we all know, like, Triple H told him, "I am not helping you for this match," and we've seen what happens when Roman Reigns does not get help with a match. It is a terrible match, and I'm a Triple H fan. I will let that be known, but I will say that is a terrible match.
Oh, you said he did say that, Triple H?
Yeah, like, to where, and I don't want it to be confirmed,
Mm-hmm.
but like, a lot of things lead to, like, Triple H letting Roman Reigns know to where, like, if you want to be the top guy, I'm not gonna carry you for this match. You got to do the work yourself, and it did not work.
Sure didn't. Mm-mm.
Yeah, that's the problem. Because I mean, I'm a Randy Orton fan, and Randy Orton's gotten his critiques. He don't do a lot. He's very boring in the ring. I mean, I get it. There ain't a lot of guys that bring out the excitement, but at least Randy Orton has more energy. And
Mm-hmm.
he showed against Edge, and him and Cena had a few good matches, and him and Styles was pretty good. Like Randy
Mm-hmm.
shows that he can step up when he needs to and actually put on a good match. Reigns, I mean, yeah, him and Logan Paul was great, but
He
I know
did.
Cornette said on his podcast, Reigns led him really well. Reigns carried him, led him in the right spots and all that. I get that, but Reigns didn't do that much in the match. It was just Logan Paul showing off and Reigns just taking a lot of moves. I mean, it wasn't really Reigns like, oh my
Mm-mm.
God, what is Reigns doing in this match? It was just like tears all about Logan Paul, and it shouldn't be like that when you're the most dominant champion of all time. It shouldn't be.
No.
And I don't know. I mean, fans can agree to disagree, but to me, it sounds like he's not the greatest champion of all time. I mean, I just
He's not.
can't get
I'm
behind it.
sorry. He's not.
I like that in this one. Like, we talked about why we don't think he's the GOAT, and we also gave our opinion who we think is the GOAT.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people in that discussion. I mean,
QJ said John Cena. You said Randy Orton. I apparently said Triple H.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, pretty much sums up what we all like in a way. So we're gonna go on to the last topic of this first episode. Will his reign ever be broken? I mean, you don't see reigns like this in today's wrestling. You don't in any company. I mean, maybe Josh Alexander has a reign like I don't see Josh Alexander having a 4-year reign. I can see him maybe having a 2-year type reign, but you don't see 4 to 5 year title reigns anymore. It's just not a thing in today's wrestling. So, QJ, starting with you, do you see this reign honestly ever being broken in any company in wrestling.
I'm gonna be honest with you now. I just don't see it. I mean, and if we're going from, you know, for WWE, since Triple H and Shaw, I don't feel him doing that, putting nobody no 4 year, 5 year reign after reigns, and other companies, I don't see them doing that either. Like they'll have their year, but they want to give other people their moments to have their year too. So no, I don't see it. I honestly don't see it happening. Honestly.
Yeah, because I mean, the only person who came closest or near it was Walter,
Hmm.
and a lot of people don't remember that because a lot of people didn't watch NXT UK at the time. But Walter was very dominant in his reign. But at least in Walter's matches, I actually got into it and actually gave a damn about his matches over Reigns. But yeah, same. I mean, I don't see anybody beating it. I mean, Triple H, don't get me wrong, he likes his long title reigns. He does. A lot of NXT reigns were pretty long. He's had Walter hold the IC title for a good while now. So, I mean, he likes his long title reigns, but I don't think Triple H would have somebody hold a title for almost 5 years. I just don't see him doing that, like you said. But Tears, what are your thoughts on it? Do you think it's going to be beaten by any company? Any company going to have a 4 to 5 year title reign?
In WWE, not a chance. But I do have to say, let's not forget, a couple years ago, Okada in New Japan had a 2 to almost 3 year title reign. So I'm going to have to say, depending on what New Japan does with Okada and what his next title reign is going to be like, I can actually see not even just Okada, but maybe Tanahashi or someone like on that caliber. I don't think it'll be Jay White. I'm going to have to say that I don't think it's going to be Ospreay. Mm, I think it's going to be either Naito, Tanahashi, or Okada in New Japan that could do that. I'm not saying they will. I'm just saying they could.
Yeah, because New Japan does like the long title reigns. I mean, it definitely a possibility if it is going to be someone like that, definitely them.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so I mean, we talked about Roman Reigns' career. We've talked about his title reign, who should beat him, the Shield, the Bloodline, records being broken. Do y'all have any final thoughts on Roman Reigns? Tears, I'll start off with you. Have any final thoughts on Roman Reigns in general?
I think that Roman Reigns is definitely evolved from one of the most hated guys in WWE, the one guy who causes people to stop watching it as a whole, to not the. I'm going to have to say I do not agree with the people that QJ is talking with, where like he's the reason they're watching SmackDown. I don't see that. I feel like he's definitely more of like, okay, he's finally in the presence of being a main eventer that people can actually stand.
Yeah, he's definitely more liked than he was before by a
Right.
lot of fans.
But I do have to say this bloodline it could also be a system of like how long it is going with this title reign also could lead to people leaving watching wrestling also.
Yeah, because the Bloodline, like I said, I've enjoyed the story, but you know, you can only go so far with a group storyline like that. I know the Undisputed Era was a group for a long time, and they held all the titles and everything, but
They had
I mean,
character.
yeah, they did a little bit more in ring, a little bit more kind of interesting thing. I'm not saying what the Bloodline doing isn't interesting. It's great. Sami Zayn's great in the Bloodline, but
The fact that we're mentioning Sami Zayn is what's making it great too. That's kind of a
yeah,
negative as well.
exactly. It's more Sammy being the main interest. I mean, every show you go to now, are they chanting for Roman Reigns? I mean, they get up on their feet for him. That's because most of them don't even go to or watch the shows. They just know who Roman Reigns is because he's the most pushed guy in the company. But most of the shows, you hear Sammy Uso, Sammy Uso, Sammy Uso every time. I mean, Sammy is the most must-see thing in WWE right now, and there ain't even no question about it. But QJ, you got any final thoughts on Roman Reigns?
Yeah, like I said, Reigns definitely evolved, so I'll give him that. I feel once the day he loses, they're gonna lose. They're gonna lose a little viewership, just a little bit. But Sami Zayn, they have. I feel they'll. you'll get something that'll stay. But I feel once he take a little break, I could see, I could just already see the comments. Yeah, we need Reigns back. Yeah, we need. It ain't the same without him. Boom, boom, boom. But
Yeah,
other than that, yeah, I just see because when they push, when you see Triple H pushing, putting Ricochet and different people in the main event, you don't crowd. Some will be on their feet, but you don't feel that excitement as it should be, honestly. So that's why
yeah.
I say that.
That's the problem with the WWE audience is they Vince has got them in their mind that they think wrestling doesn't matter on the show and it's all about story. And both can be important, as we saw in NXT and AEW and Impact Story and wrestling, and both go into the same thing. It's just Vince made it so long where it's like, okay, we're just gonna have 5 minute women matches. We're gonna have about 10 minute main events. We're not gonna really do much moves. We're gonna do the same moves like Tears used to say. He wanted us to remember what moves they did, all that. We just didn't really see a lot of great matches. So these fans all think, yeah, what's wrestling? We're just here to see the bloodline and the story and all that stuff. But yeah, I definitely agree. It could be a lot worse for WWE when Reigns loses because that's the only guy they pushed really the last 5 years, and that's where you get yourself back into a corner for sure. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this first episode. I was talking about Roman Reigns. Let us know down below what y'all thought, what y'all's opinions on Roman Reigns' title reign. Make sure to hit that like button, that subscribe button, and we will see you guys next time.
Peace.